Greetings, everyone. Today I'd like to talk about Facebook Marketplace and an adventure that I'm currently having, and I'm going to bring you guys along for the ride. Now, before I get into details, I just want to say, if you're a guitar player, guitar collector, this has really been a golden era. It's been a golden era for us. We have the Asian countries have been producing, China, Indonesia, South Korea, Japan, of course, have been producing some amazing instruments at very reasonable prices. The Made in Mexico Fender line is really, really good. I come to think of it, I think some of the custom shop items that you would get from Fender, I believe, like the roast, the flame roasted maple necks and things like that. I believe those only come from Mexico. I don't know if some of that custom shop work is even done here in the United States anymore. And yeah, so we've never had so many guitars at such high quality at such low price. It's been amazing. The other thing we've had is if you're interested in buying and selling guitars, we've had eBay for quite some time. We've had Reverb, we've had Craigslist, and now we have Facebook Marketplace. And yeah, that was the golden age. And of course, now I think, at least for the time being, that golden age has sort of taken a punch, where it hurts. For one reason, at least for myself, I really can't use eBay and Reverb anymore if I want to, say, sell an instrument. The way the new tax law is, if I do more than $600 in sales, and that's a single guitar. For example, I had listed my Bonamassa up for sale, my Bonamassa Black Beauty. And then I realized, I said, if I sell this, because I was going to sell it on Reverb, I said, Reverb's going to 1099 me as if I'm in the business of selling guitars. I'm not in the business. I just don't like that Bonamassa guitar, and I want to sell it because I don't play it, and it's in mint condition, so why not? But if I sell it on Reverb, now, according to Uncle Sam, I'm in the business of selling guitars. Reverb's going to 1099 me, and now I'm going to have to pay taxes, on that added income now, because whatever I sell it for just gets added onto my income at the end of the year, and now I owe Uncle Sam, what, 18, 20, 25% of that sale? And then what? Do I just go back and say, well, I don't know, I've had, X guitar for 20 years, and so you're making me pay taxes on it as if I'm in business doing this. Do I get to write off 20 years of storage and maintenance and all that? Can I write that off? Disaster. So at least for the time being, I'm not using, I wouldn't use Reverb or eBay to I won't even buy from either one of those at the moment, just because, again, I don't want to pay sales tax on somebody's used instrument that they've had sitting around for a long time, and then I don't and then they're going to be 1099. It just seems like a bit of a tax scam to me. So I'm not doing that. So what does that leave us? Well, it leaves us the tried and true Craigslist if you want to run around locally and do your stuff. But we also have a new contender, and one that probably knows me way too much, and that's Facebook Marketplace. Now, I can choose not to go to Craigslist. I can say, well, you know what, I'm not going to go to Craigslist today to see what's up for sale. But if I sign on to Facebook, they'll have marketplace recommendations for me, because, they know the kind of stuff that I look at. They know what I'm interested in. And then now I'm in a rabbit hole. So, Marketplace is, in my opinion, still somewhat of the wild, wild west for the guy that wants to go out and buy a guitar. And really for a couple reasons. And the first one it's real simple, is scammers. But they're kind of easy to find. If somebody's on Marketplace and they're saying, gosh, I'm selling this for a friend, and I don't know anything about guitars, so don't ask me anything, because I can't answer anything about guitars, but, I've got this super expensive guitar or whatever, up for sale, but I'm not going to take any additional photos for you, and I can't answer questions. That's typically a scam. I mean, anybody, let's face it, if you've got, I don't know, if you've got an American-made 1974 Stratocaster, you're not having somebody that doesn't know anything about instruments just randomly listing that for you on Marketplace. The other scam I see sometimes, it'll be people like, and this will be from females. Oh, my boyfriend's in jail, or he left me, and screw him. I'm selling his guitar. I don't know anything about them, and and it'll be an obvious Gibson, an obvious fake of a 59 gold top or something like that, and you're like, 59 gold top, huh? Oh, and you only want $1,000 for it because your poor boyfriend's in jail. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, so I'll just write them like, oh gosh, I'm so sorry to hear that the love of your life is in prison, but just so you know, that guitar you're listing, that's not an actual Gibson. It's fake. So you might want to consider changing your listing because you need that money so badly. So you do see those people. The other people that you may run across are people that are they're just ignorant, not because that they're being evil. They just don't know. All Les Pauls are Gibson Les Pauls, regardless of who makes them. I see that. Anything that looks like a Strat is a Fender Strat, and I'll write those people as well. Hey, if you want to sell your instrument quicker, you may want to change your listing to what this instrument actually is. That's a whatever Epiphone, and so I'll do that, but Facebook, which Marketplace and Facebook, it's a really sort of weird, avenue to be on to sell an instrument, because Facebook is, I don't know, it's kind of the place where people argue about politics and brag about their children, and so now you're trying to sell an instrument in a space that's really where people argue about politics and brag about their children, or post what they've eaten today, So you're on a social media site where people are very concerned with what they had to eat, or with politics, or whatever meme they're pushing. Oh, and this is where you sell your instruments. So, when I do see an instrument that I like, I've had people really get mad at me. You're just like, hey, I'm looking at this guitar. Do you have the original pickup covers for that? And they're just like, well, why don't you move to Russia, you Putin loving? I'm like, I just want to know if this guitar has its pickup covers, and you just get blasted by people that are just so used to, using Facebook as a place to fight, that when you ask questions about their instruments, they think you're questioning their politics, or I don't know, but I've had people really get upset with me, just for asking some simple questions like, hey, do you have the case candy that this came with, or those pickups don't look original. Did you swap them out? And on Reverb or other places, which I can't use because I don't want to be 1099 and have to pay taxes on something that I've already paid taxes on, that I've already spent a bunch of money maintaining. You get people that get, it's like you're questioning their very, existence and ideology. I just want to know if those tuning keys are original. So Facebook Marketplace sort of presents an interesting and sort of difficult, just minefield that you have to, work through just to get your instruments. I mean, I've seen some instruments that I've really wanted where people have just, refused to speak to me because I've asked them a question, or, I don't know, maybe they went to my profile and they didn't, and I, maybe I was wearing a cat shirt or something and they didn't like it. Who knows with people like that? So to get to this story, this is one of those sort of investigation stories. Somebody, and Facebook Marketplace did this to me. I didn't do it to myself. Facebook said, "Hey, here's a guitar you might be interested in," and sure enough, it was. It's what appears to be a poorly shot. I mean, I don't know why people, when they take pictures of their instruments for Facebook Marketplace, at least, like use a camera phone in a dark room while on a trampoline, because that's typically how their photos look. But I'm looking and I'm like, okay, it's a Gibson Sg. The guy says, his listing is, 2018 Gibson Sg, $625. I'm like, $625. I'm like, that's, two things are happening. One, red flags, because it shouldn't be that inexpensive unless something terrible's happened to it. And, the other thing is I'm thinking, well, fake? Who knows? Maybe it's a fake. So I'm looking at the pictures and I'm like, okay, well, I go, it's, I can see in one of the pictures if I, zoom in, I had to, download his photo, put it into Photoshop, sharpen the image, zoom in. Okay, I can see that it's a Gibson Sg Special. At least that's what the truss cover plate says, that it's a special. And so I said, oh, well, no problem. It's a Gibson Sg Special 2018. I'll go to Reverb and look it up. But I can't find anything. Google Images, because with Gibson, special each year can change. A special one year could have humbuckers. The next year it could have P90s. Maybe a year after that, there are no specials. Maybe it has a wraparound, tailpiece. Who knows? So it seems like the SG Special is sort of a catch-all for whatever Gibson feels like doing on that particular year. So I wrote the guy, and incidentally, I should mention, I can see from the guitar that, the pickup rings have been changed out to something kind of chrome looking. And he did mention in his listing that it had upgraded tuners. So, okay, so I know I have a guitar that somebody's gone in and cosmetically changed it. So that's going to make it harder. It's hard enough to find something. It's even worse when they change out the hardware, right? It's worse. It's worse when they change out the hardware. So I said, so I wrote him back, and I'm trying not to, in any way insult the person. And I said, those tuners look great. Would you mind sending me a picture of, of the rear of the headstock so I can, so I can have a better look at those tuners? Those things are amazing. What I really wanted to see was its serial number and stuff like that. So I get a photo back, and sure enough, it's not a 2018. The guy doesn't even know what year guitar he's selling me. It's a 2017. I run its serial number through the little serial number checker, and yeah, it comes back as, this thing is produced in whatever week in 2017. And I'm like, perfect. So at least now I know what year to look for. So I can go back, I can look for, Gibson Sg's, Gibson Sg Specials 2017. And I can't find anything that matches, hardware-wise, what this thing looks like. As far as its pots and, this thing, it looked like somebody had removed its pickup covers. Why? I don't know why you would want to do that. So I go ahead and I find it. Sure enough, it is a 2017 Gibson Sg Special. At least I find one, insofar as it's, I can identify it by its, basically its paint scheme and its inlays. The paint scheme, the inlays, its lack of binding. Definitely, this is an investigation over. It's a 2017 Gibson Sg Special. Bravo, I know what it is. Still, $625 is an extremely good price for something like this. I can see on Reverb that they're selling, for twice as much or even more, depending on the condition. So I wrote the guy, like, hey, now that I knew what it was, just so you know, I'm interested in this guitar. It is a 2017, of course, Gibson Sg Special. That's actually what you're selling. And he doesn't care. He just wants $625. Now, it's local pickup only, and it's in a different state. Luckily, I have family right where that guy was, and someone was able to go over there and pick up the guitar for me and put it in the mail. And while I was waiting, I went and acquired, a different pick guard, what I think is the original pick guard for it, what I think are the original pots, or the, knobs, and and of course some nice looking, pickup covers. I don't want the pickup covers exposed. I think it looks classier with, it looks a little cleaner with its covers back on. So the next part of this is to verify, does it have the pickups that it's supposed to? Does it have its other parts? At least from writing back and forth to this guy on Facebook Marketplace, it seems to me that it's probably a guitar that he bought from somebody a couple years ago. It just arrived in the mail today. By the looks of it, the way it's set up, it's not playable. It's not playable. I can see some dings and dents where whoever tried to swap out parts didn't do a very good job. I'm going to try, to make this thing playable, give it the treatment and see where we end up and see if it's actually worth the $625 I paid for it. And by the way, $625, if he would have sold it on Reverb, that poor guy would have been $10.99, and then Uncle Sam would have taken some of that money from him. But yeah, he seemed like an older guy that just didn't play. And again, by the looks of it, it's not a guitar that was played. Probably something that was hung on a wall. And like I said, $625. And by the way, I should mention, it's sometimes when you take that chance, it does pay off. For example, this little guy right here. This guy almost has an identical story. This is a 2006 Gibson Sg Classic. And typically, any Gibson that you're going to see with P90s usually has a wraparound bridge. So, having a bridge and a tail, that's really nice. I like the binding. I got this for $700. I got it for $700 because somebody was like, oh, I got to be super cool and put like a Megadeth sticker on the headstock and just completely trashed, the nitro. It just trashed the finish job. I had to have the headstock repainted, but so what? Well, that, and they put, some Grovers on here. I mean, let's face it, if you've got like a classic cherry sort of Gibson SG, you're not going to make it look metal. I mean, you can put a Megadeth sticker on it, but it's just not going to be metal. I'm sorry, and if it ends up in my hands, I'm just gonna put it back the way it was. If I want to be metal, then I've got a Sinister Gates, and I got my Ola England Solar V. That's pretty metal. I've got a Warmoth Explorer. That's pretty metal. If I want to be metal, I have guitars for that. That's like trying to make a if I wanted to make some Nashville-looking Telecaster metal, it's not going to work. So, yeah, $700 for this guy. We may beat that with the Sg Special, and I guess we're going to find out. I'm going to give it the treatment. I'll film a little bit of what I'm doing. We'll come back and talk, and let's see how it plays. Well, I'm back, and this is going to be like an episode of CSI. I am fairly certain I know and understand a little more about the history of this guitar. And here are some things that I can tell you. And by the way, I promised I was going to play some tasty licks. But you know what? I want to finish this video before I have to shave. And I've still got... I still have some setup work to do. I still have some intonation work to do. I'm probably going to flip this pickup ring around. Little things like that. But I want to finish this, and I'm fairly certain now that I know the history of this instrument. And I think it goes like this. In 2017, maybe 2018, someone bought this instrument and decided that because it's a special, and the specials are, they cost a little bit less. It doesn't have the binding. It's super thin. This thing is super thin. This thing is super thin and super light. And someone said, you know what? This would be the perfect platform for me to live out all my fantasies and do the guitar in the way that I want to do it. I'm going to put, the best parts that I can think of on this guitar, and this thing's just going to rock. And they did that. And then realized that this doesn't work. Well, what did I do wrong? Oh no, I'll sell it to somebody else. And the guy that got it hung it up on a wall or something until he finally decided to sell it to me. And here's how I can prove all of that's true. For starters, the pickup rings that were on this instrument were chrome, and not chrome-covered plastic. I'm talking straight-up chrome. This thing was chrome, heavy-duty chrome, and it was chrome pickup rings for a like a Les Paul, something with a curved top. The pickup rings were for an instrument with a curved top. Therefore, they sat really, really high, so high that this bridge right here, this really nice bridge, this roller bridge, this is a nice bridge. It's an aftermarket bridge as well, had to be up high, which gave this thing pretty high action, which made it somewhat unplayable. Good intention, just, kind of bad execution, I guess, on that person's part. Maybe once they saw what they had, they should have stopped there, but they didn't. I know they took the pickup covers off because when I put the pickup covers back on, I could see the solder blobs and stuff. I could see that at one point in time this had pickup covers. And the reason I went with solid for mine was really I didn't want to have to, guess the hole spacing for the the little screws that go up and down because I wasn't positive as to which pickups were going to be in here. And I figured, it doesn't really matter anyways. I don't know of anybody that ever really tinkers with those. So you know what? I'm just going to put solid covers on. It doesn't matter. I think they look classy. They're perfectly fine. And speaking about things that this guy did, this tailpiece here, it is interesting. It's actually designed to be done with an overwrap. The way the routes are on this side. It could work both ways, but it's definitely designed to have an overwrap. I could see that, when the guy did his stuff here, that he had caused a little bit of harm. This probably had different studs or he had to put different studs in, and I could see that he had an issue with that. I actually have a little jig I built that pulls these studs out without causing any harm to the instrument. Back to CSI, whoever had this the first time probably didn't have this and just tried to pull that out. You can see the same here. I'm probably showing you a close-up picture of where the guy tried to remove this switch, and definitely left some marks there. You know, he probably didn't know that there's a very simple tool, you know, that's got padding on the back side that you can use to remove this. You don't see it over there, but I mean, there's just tubs and tubs and tubs full of you know, tools and little jigs and things to help. And the reason I know all that is because, yeah, I've wrecked some instruments, and then I'm saying, well, I'm not doing that again. There must be, you know, a way to do this properly. And incidentally, the instruments I do wreck, you know, they were, you know, I practiced on, you know, those inexpensive imports I was talking about. I normally wouldn't do something like that to a Gibson. Frankly, I really don't want to do anything to my Gibsons. I just, you know, I want them to, you know, I want to get them and I want them to play nice, and I don't want to start swapping out all of their parts. So, digging inside the cavity here, by the way, this is definitely an aftermarket part. It's, you know, it has a texture. This isn't a Gibson part. You know, this guy definitely wanted a certain kind of look to it. But while I was digging around in there, it's still the Gibson pots, but he's got really fancy oil and paper caps, really with humbuckers, and what you would use with this guitar. I'm not sure why you would need oil and paper caps, but they're in there. So, like I said, whoever had this made some interesting adjustments. You know, locking Clouson tuners, this particular roller bridge here. It's a nice roller bridge. The this tailpiece that was specifically designed for a top wrap. You know, he took the trouble to take the pickup covers off. He put chrome pickup covers on. This is probably the only disappointment I really have so far is the you know, he put a 5-ply pick guard on. Definitely, you know, it's an aftermarket 5-ply pick guard. As you can see, the holes didn't quite line up. We're still, the cream-colored one that I got just doesn't even line up at all. I don't know who designed that, but, you know, trying to get a pick guard online is always a challenge. And it's not like I just flipped a coin and chose one. I picked one, you know, based on reviews and people saying, oh yeah, you know, this absolutely fit my, you know, this fit my guitar. Well, it didn't fit this, not even close. It was just so far skewed off that it's unusable. One of the other things I should mention is the volume knobs that the guy had on. I could clearly see that they were not the standard ones, but you know, the metric knobs that, you know, that you would use like on an Epiphone or something, because I mean, they were just, you know, they were just crammed on there. Luckily these, you know, at least I knew enough to get, you know, the right pots for this instrument. So that's my CSI story. I'm almost certain, and here's how I know, because the gentleman that sold this to me, if he had done all this work in his listing, he would have mentioned things like, hey, oil and paper caps, you know, really cool roller bridge. You know, he would have mentioned the things that he had done, and he didn't mention any of that. He did say it had upgraded tuners, but he didn't say, you know, oh, upgraded Clouson locking tuners. He just said upgraded tuners. So, and the fact that, you know, if he would have done that work, he would have had the original parts with him. I mean, who wouldn't? They would have kept those parts so that, you know, were they to sell the guitar, that those parts, would be with it. I mean, even with that SG Classic I was showing you, I had to replace the tuners. The tuners that were on it weren't original. It had those little tiny button tuners on the SG Classic, but even the Grovers that were on it, whoever put those on, I mean, I kept those. Even though they're not the original, if I were to sell it, I could still say, well, it came with these tuners. I've put these on. I don't have the original, but I mean, I have the original as I bought it. At least I try to think about those kinds of things and keep the case candy. It came with its soft shell case, no case candy or anything, but that's definitely my CSI take on this particular instrument. And if you're watching this, you can leave a comment. You can tell me, was it worth the $625 that I paid for it? And I'm thinking it is. I mean, I didn't really spend all that much money on some covers, and I probably spent, maybe I don't know, maybe another $30, to at least cosmetically change it a little bit. And I'm going to go back and definitely double check, whether my neck is straight. I have the tools to adjust that. If I've got a tall fret, I can knock that down. One of the things I will say, and the reason I believe that the previous owner just was like, this thing's unplayable and I'm just going to hang it on a wall, was just how dried out the neck was. It took 4 rounds of lemon oil to get the neck, back to where it should be. So I'm pleased. You can tell me what you think about it. And like I said, $625. I think I made out okay. It could have been a lot. It could have been a lot worse. But like I said, I was able to verify that these are Gibson pickups. The pots that are in it are Gibson. I know some things have been changed out. It really just, it is what it is. I could never sell it as an original guitar, but I definitely think, I got my money's worth. So thank you for this long-winded episode of listening to me rant about Facebook Marketplace and how that morphed into an episode of CSI. So we will see you next time.